what I'm going to do today is something that I've never done before. Is we are going to set this plane up. It's never been flown, so we're going to set it up. We're going to set all the travel, the rates. We're going to do it, have everybody watch exactly how I do it, and I will explain to the letter exactly what I'm doing. And if there's anything you don't understand, you interrupt me, and we'll make sure everybody's crystal clear on it before we leave. But again, the thing I like the most about PA is Sean, the designer, is incredibly meticulous. To find the CG on this aircraft, you would not believe the amount of time and trouble and effort and how big a pain in my buddy is when he's trying to get the CG just right. The truth is, he really cares. And if you set it up with this equipment, put it on the CG, honestly, and I'm going to, literally there's a lot of people here, and I'm going to do a demo right dead cold. And we're going to show you how if you set it up properly, when it lifts off, it should be just fine. Again, the odds of a little click of, aileron trim or something are very possible, but it should fly just perfect. What we're going to try and do here is we're going to set up one control surface at a time, obviously. And let's see. Okay, we got a reversed elevator, so we'll set that up really quickly. All right, now the elevator's going in the right direction. I mean, there's some things I'm going to presume is that you all realize that the surfaces have to go in the right direction. So we're going to skip over that part. Okay, I'm going to do a little sub trim on this elevator because it seems to need it. And we're going to just level it off here. Okay.
So Michael, talk about sub trim, right? Is there a disadvantage to using sub trim?
Yes, there is a disadvantage to using sub trim. Okay. Anyway, so now we've got that set up. Now here comes what I feel is the most important setting on your radio, and that is the travel adjusts. Now, the big difference between travel adjust and rates is what I'm going to explain to you, and this is, trust me, this is the most valuable piece of information you're going to leave here with, okay? Travel adjusts sets what 100% of the deflection is going to be, okay? Travel adjusts establishes 100%, okay? It is irrelevant for what rates you want to fly at. Like if you just always want to stay at a rate this high, don't limit the travel on your aircraft. Yeah, and I'll explain why a little bit more. Okay, so the first thing that happens is if we're setting a rate at 50%, we have to set the travel at 100% to know where 50% actually is. So if the manufacturer said, set your rates to start at 30%, well, if when you start you only have 60% of your available travel and then you set it to 30% of that, the plane's set up wrong. So you can say, wow, I have no control at 30%. These guys are ridiculous for putting this in their manual. So what we're going to do is we are going to set the rate, and the way to do it, I'm going to tell you this and then a more advanced setup. I'm going to make sure we have everything covered. But I'm going to max it out. Now, I'm at 150 right now, but it maxes out at 140 or so. So I'm going to start dialing it back till it starts to move. Okay.
When the servos are buzzing, that means you got too much. You need to back it off, right?
Yeah, in this case, that's just a digital servo noise. It wasn't quite binding. Yeah, when it starts grinding, yeah, you definitely know you got too much. Okay.
So Michael, so in reducing your endpoint adjustments from 100 to more or less, aren't you? So is there a critical point where you don't want to reduce it less than because you're going to alter the resolution of your throw?
Exactly. Okay.
So what is that number? Like less than 100%?
Yeah, here, optimally. Okay. Now, again, this is another piece of information. If you're going to take any notes, this is one for sure. Try and make sure that your travel is somewhere between 130 and 150. Okay. The reason you want the travel adjust between 130 and 150 is because of what he said. You have the best possible resolution and the highest possible torque. What happens is if you hit max travel at 80, that means it's like the difference between an hour hand and a second hand. You know, frog's jumping on him. it's on everybody. So the difference is, as it's moving, the second hand, you have so much resolution, and if you're going to adjust, you have all that adjustment. And if you have the hour hand, it's jumping, you know, too much with very little movement. So the idea behind Expo and the idea behind this sort of resolution that we're trying to establish is that you're maximizing the torque. I mean, everybody here has ridden a 10-speed bicycle, okay? If you're driving on 10th gear when you start out, it's very difficult. If you start out in first gear, it's very easy. Same thing with a car. Well, basically, we want to keep everything as close to first gear as possible because, number one, it's much easier for the servo to move. And if you're under 100, there is a critical mistake you made, and that is with the linkage. If you look at the linkages here, they're level, they're straight, the servo is at 90 degrees, and it's basically set up perfectly, automatically. Now, go to your aircraft, and the first thing I do with anybody who says their plane flies like crap is I go to the travel adjust, and if I see all of the things at 100, 125, and they set it at some, if the left and right are identical, it's wrong. It just can't be, because there's an odd number of teeth on the gears, and you know, I've literally never seen it. So, you know, in this case, we're at 144 and 149. That's pretty close, but normally it's not. Okay, sometimes it's off by as many as 20 or 30 percentage points. The other thing.
Question, so that's okay to leave it like that, or would you want to reduce one side to make them even?
Okay, that's what I'm getting to next. Now, I'm not going to do this right now because this is the part that you want to take a little time with. But if this is at 45 degrees, I want 45 degrees on the other side. So what you do is you find the one that moves the most, the side that moves the least, and invariably, and it is only because of your hinging that it's not exactly even, okay? But again, if both are at 125 or something, it is impossible for them to be even. I mean, literally, virtually impossible. So we're going to go up, down, make sure we get 45 degrees at each or whatever you determine. I mean, find the max. If one is at 52 degrees and the other one is at 51 degrees, you just reduce the high one to 51 and be done with it. It can be very important with the rudder, especially to be even. When you're doing rolling Harriers, you really need to find that sweet spot where everything is even. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's again in the advanced version of this. That's what happens. So let's set up the rudder. I'll try and do this as fast as possible because wow, that's very close right there, right out the box. Bringing that up. Okay. We're going to go to the right. We're going to. Okay, so we're taking the travel right to the top. Lean it down a little bit because we're going the other way now. Now, to me, the most important ones to have the same, and it's actually advisable to have the upward side be a half degree less, only because of the prop wash. To make the plane roll truly axially, okay? For the plane to make an axial roll, the left and right side have to be even. You all have a differential setting on your radio. And the differential setting is, as the plane is coming down, if it's just rolling straight at the ground, it'll start pulling to one side or the other based on the fact that one aileron might be a little more effective than the other. And so that's why we do that. Now, Sean told me that this plane is going to feel different than a lot of the PA planes, livelier and some other things. But again, I am setting this up exactly like the manual, right out of the box. And in fact, I didn't even build it. So like I said, these PA planes should fly just perfect right from the word go. Again, it might need a little bit of trim, so let's see. Leave the ground smooth. All right, a couple clicks of up trim, and I think that's about it. Now I'm just going to do what I normally do, is watch it in level flight. I think one more click of trim. Maybe one more. One more. There we go. Now the next thing that's going to be really important is I'm going to check the CG. The way I do it is I take it about 2/3 throttle up at a 45. I'm going to roll the aircraft. And I think it's pretty spot on. It's just beginning to want to nose down just a little tiny bit. I might pull it back just a little bit more, but I think it's pretty close, and it's probably not the measurements Sean gave me. It's more than likely my inadequacies with measuring it. All right, so I'm going to go out towards the runway a little bit. We're going to start experimenting with some things and see how it does. Well, it looks like it's doing this pretty well. Not an ounce of wing rock. There's some wind here. Amazing how slow this thing will fly, isn't it? That was nice. So that's a success. I'm going to switch to a lower rate. Check the is its roll rate. Now here's with no rudder. Easily, which means it's predictable. Again.
Minus 24 minutes.
All right. Now we're going to check. Knife edge. I'm going to switch back to high rates. I'm going to just take a nice long. Add rudder. Look at this. It is that straight out of the box. That movement is nothing but wind. Now you guys want to see that knife edge spin mix?
Elevator mix on.
Fast enough?
Mix off.
Yes, that was the whole point, is to get the mix. You know, one of the things that I think is absolutely astonishing about the PA planes is because that they're made so light and strong. I guess this is a little silly to do with a brand new plane, but if I do, I call this death dive. We're going to go straight at the ground. And we're going to stop it exactly on the mark. It stops almost instantly. Now this is a big test for me to see how well it goes. Right now it's literally seems to be doing everything. Last but not least, I'll kind of see what it's going to look and feel like in a hover. I'm going to bring it down low and close. Oh, sorry, that's just the wind. So we'll hover into the wind. throttle response is just so good. I don't want to bang up the new airplane. Actually, a knife edge. I'm going to show you something called a death slide. And this is not throttle control. So I'm going to go up, down a knife edge. We're going to fall straight down a knife edge. I'm going to stop it right at the ground with throttle only. Rudder's at full. Uh-oh.
Minus 28 minutes.
That's all throttle control, nothing else. What I call a steep approach landing. But watch what throttle control will do.